live from New York. It's a show that is welcoming all baseball fans to a special football edition of First Things First. Lots of surprises and treats.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Lots of surprises.
Treats?
Yeah, you know some stuff that he doesn't know. He knows
that
stuff
makes me nervous. Anytime Brou has an excuse to get free food, most notably delectable sweet food.
We start with a Dallas shellacking. Cowboys get crushed by a Lions team that was out for revenge. Final score 47-9 in the largest defeat ever at Jerry World. Jerry himself not thrilled. I knew that. I personally was not shocked because I've shown this graphics for 4 consecutive weeks and I keep asking Josh to update it. So now we've updated it with the Lions. They have trailed by more than 21 in all 4 games and been getting just rolled in the first half. So Brou, what grade are you giving the Cowboys for yesterday's performance?
Well, it's obviously not an A, B, C. All right. I mean, as I was watching that absolute embarrassment yesterday, that utter annihilation, I was thinking to myself, it's a shame.
I didn't know you sang.
I mean, because every time the Cowboys step up in class and face a non-tomato can, it's the same old song. You know what? Like, there are guys that sing better than me. If you haven't figured it out, because the Detroit Lions, Motor City is the team that wrecked the Cowboys yesterday, there's a Motown flavor to today's grade. Fellas, take it away.
You know the Cowboys, played an F game. Said the Cowboys died. Ain't that a shame? Oh no. How about them Cowboys? Oh, F game, F game, F game. Woo.
There it is.
What? F game, 47-9. F game, so bad. F game, no good. F game, yeah. F game, all right. F game, no. F game.
I think you got to take back over, bro.
That was just...
I mean, I didn't know that was coming.
I think the show, it's all downhill if you were here for this.
Also,
We're not ever going to do anything better than that.
We won't. And I also must say, because today's show, instead of being its usual time of 3 p.m. Eastern following the herd, it's happening in the evening following a baseball game millions and millions of people are going to watch.
Yes.
There are a lot of very confused baseball fans right now. Like, is this what they're doing?
Yes.
Tipping? And the answer is kind of yeah. All right. So, if I may pivot to the game itself, it was a disgraceful performance. It was a disgraceful performance start to finish. And I have to give credit where it's due. One of my colleagues has been hammering this point, and I have been...
Little old me?
He has made it a big part of his brand, and it pains me to ever say this person was right. It absolutely pains me beyond belief to say this person was 100% right when they talked about the Cowboys getting blown out at home, and we can show you the numbers because it's historic. The Cowboys, this is the last 50 years.
That's not good.
Most points allowed in a 4-game stretch at home. I know every game wasn't.
Those probably all weren't blowouts.
No. And so again, and those were the Cowboys. The Ravens game, I guess, wasn't a blowout, but they were being blown out early. Right. But again, 42 points a game is what they're allowing at home. A team that had won 16 consecutive home games that has now lost 4 consecutive home games. A team that can't run and can't stop the run. And so I would like to figuratively and literally, if I may, give some flowers to the person who's called this all along, Kevin Wilds.
Thank you.
I knew it was.
Cowboys blue.
KW, you nailed. You told me that this was gonna happen.
I've been telling
I
everybody.
yelled at you. I didn't. I demanded you give the Cowboys more respect.
No.
I don't know why I nor Brou listened to you the way we should have.
Well,
and
because I'm the clown.
And I mean, you had this one right. So yeah, you nailed it, buddy.
Can I show you my favorite parts of the game, Brou?
Yeah.
Because we were saying we were sort of setting up this game as a revenge game because Dan Campbell and the Lions were still mad, and someone on the set, not saying who it was like, why do you keep showing this gosh darn play again with the spot shadow? I'm like, this is the story. The Lions are still mad.
Yes.
So first play of the game, Dan Skipper reports eligible. Right away, first play of the game, a.k.a. telling the Cowboys, by the way, if you didn't think we're still mad, we are still mad. Then it's 34-9, like, you know what, now let's open up the playbook. They run the TD attempt to Decker. It doesn't work. They're like, oh, shoot, is that all we're going to do? Like, nope. Let's run one to Penei Sewell, a little hook and ladder. That's later in the third. And then with 4 minutes left in the game, they put Skipper out wide. Now, he has caught a not a touchdown pass, but he has caught one pass in his life, so it wasn't necessarily like totally silly, but it was
No, it was pretty silly. No, he's
a nice
never
little
lined up
flex.
like that,
Right.
Wilds. He's lined up as like a
That
third
is silly.
tight end at the goal line. He's never lined up out wide like he's, David Boston.
But they weren't ready for
It's
it.
absolute trolling. That is, it is insult to injury, embarrassment to injury. And look, Nick, honestly, and I doubt you disagree. They could have scored 60 points if they really had just totally kept their foot on the gas.
I disagree.
Really?
Only because
if they weren't doing this stuff.
Okay, well,
more
I
valuable.
think they were trying to score as many points as they could with style. You're
Right.
If what you're
If
saying
they
is
had
if they would have
just
just
said,
said we're just running, we're just going to run the ball down your throat. And Tom Brady on the call, who I thought this was a great game by Tom and crew. He couldn't help himself but be, and we'll talk about this more at the Lions discussion in a bit, a little annoyed at when the Lions did the first trick play. And then they ended up settling for a field goal. No, the one that you just showed. The first one that you showed. And they ended up settling for a field goal. He's like, well, you screw around, now you're taking 3 instead of getting 7. But the Lions clearly were like, well, we can.
Right.
This
They
is
had
what
no
is so.
fear. That's
This
the
is
thing.
what is so.
The game was still a lot of the game
correct.
to be played.
And that's why. This is why it's
I mean,
so.
it was midway through the third quarter.
I agree with you entirely, Brou, which is why it's so demoralizing for Dallas.
Right.
I think there are arguments. We'll talk about the Lions side of it in a bit. The Lions felt like they could treat the Cowboys the way the Chiefs for years, since Mahomes has been there with Andy, have treated the Raiders. Like, we can just screw with you.
Yeah.
Like, we can do the ring around the rosy. We can do these things.
Right.
Because we don't.
There's no fear.
There's no fear of it. And so this is, I do want to ask you one Cowboys question before we move on. If we were to base it based purely on play this season, because I pushed back on where I said, hey, if the Cowboys win, you've got to look at them as one of the premier teams in the conference. Well, not only did they not win, they got annihilated. Based purely on play this season, the NFC, the top bucket, the top tier would be Minnesota, Detroit, and Washington. Based purely on how they've played this season.
Obviously, most people would put San Francisco.
Yes, but that's based some on history.
You could put Green Bay in there.
So I was going to say the next tier is Chicago, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, and Atlanta. And we can parse it. But the point is the Cowboys are with bucket 3 with Philly and Seattle, where it's like you've had a couple nice wins, you've had moments, but there are, based on how you've played this year, 8 teams who have clearly been better than you in your own conference.
Yeah, you've been saying that.
No, well, that's what I said. This is now another data point. This is, to me, the most compelling data point up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, all of those 8 certainly have been better. I mean, the Cowboys, like yesterday, and Dak, I got to say this. Look, they would have gotten blown out, I think,
but
anyway.
That pick in the end zone.
That pick in the end zone.
Set
I mean,
the tone.
Dak is not playing well. I'm sorry.
That's correct.
You're
right.
We know they don't have a run game, and he has to throw. But that pick in the end zone, if he doesn't throw that, at worst, you're down 7-6. you might be up 10-7.
And who knows?
And who knows? Again, I think Detroit would have won. Maybe it wouldn't have been as a rout like it was, but instead of being up possibly 10-7, you go down 10-3, and then quickly another 3 and out, and it's 17-3.
Yeah.
And that was the game. At that point, you knew it was over. And then, of course, later in the game, he threw another pick. Like, Dak is playing poorly, and that was an embarrassment because, as you said, they trolled him. Yeah. They completely trolled him like, we can do whatever we want with you.
All right, let's see if there's any solutions. It was a rough birthday for Jerry Jones. Cowboys dropped to 500, but it's been rough sledding to get there. Biggest blowout of the year of any team. Here's Jerry on if there's going to be a coaching change. That's a no. Brou, do the Cowboys need to make a coaching change?
No. This is not on Mike McCarthy. I mean, of course, he's part of it. He's the head coach. But Mike McCarthy's proven that he can win 12 games 3 straight years. Like, if you give him the talent, he's got his warts. We all know that, and we've talked about it. But he's proven he can put not only a good team, but a very good team out on the field when he has the talent. This year, he was not given the talent. Their offseason was horrendous, and we've talked about it before, but not only did Jerry not improve the team, he let them get worse. Tyron Smith, gone. Dorrance Armstrong, gone. Tyler Biadasz, gone. Stephon Gilmore, gone. Tony Pollard, gone. I mean, they could use some Tony Pollard right now. He looked like Tony Dorsett compared to what they have out there.
Loves that.
And so, you know who needs to be fired? The GM. And the GM is Jerry Jones. And he needs to be fired. Not his owner. He's obviously the owner. But if he really was looking at this team.
How do you think that meeting's going to go, bro?
If he was looking at this team and the production in the offseason, he would say this GM has to go. So just give the title to a real football person and you be the owner. And you show up on Sunday in your skybox and watch the game. So, and also give up your job as voice of the Cowboys. We don't need to hear you every two times a week running your mouth.
All right, so a couple things. One is I actually think you might be giving Jerry a little too much credit there in that I think Jerry, the GM, might be doing a fine job, but Jerry...
He drafts well.
No, right, but Jerry, the owner, is killing him. Because the Cowboys' offseason is not about not being able to identify players. It's not wanting to spend money. Right. And that's the owner. You know what I mean? Every GM across sports love to spend. Fair. You know, and so I even think if he brought in a new GM, that GM would run into some of the same problems the current GM is, which is Jerry doesn't want to spend the way, you know, at this point, for this team, I still believe he viewed it as a prove you can do it, Dak, without, you know, all the weapons. The problem is they gave Dak the money anyway.
Exactly.
So, but they did that offseason as if they weren't going to, and then they did it. I think you're right in the previous moment for saying, listen, Dak needs to play better. Dak in their first loss of the year had a couple interceptions. Last night had a couple interceptions against the Steelers. Pulled the game out of the fire at the very end, but that was trending in the wrong direction. And CeeDee Lamb, who just got all that money, is yet to have a 100-yard game. Here's the McCarthy point, though, Wilds. It's twofold. One is, in about 10 minutes, there's going to be a litany of reasons I torch Nick Sirianni, but one of them is going to be that team comes out flat every single week.
Correct.
That's a coaching thing. And so when you're at home, is the point you've been making, and just getting the doors blown off you week after week, that's coaching. Here's the other question.
So you think they should make a coaching change?
What I know is this. This is one of me and Wild's favorite little thought experiments. Would this bum the Commanders and Eagles out if you said today, hey, McCarthy fired and we're doing what the Colts did with Jeff Saturday, pulling someone off television and installing him as the head coach? Ooh. That guy's name is Bill Belichick. Are the Commanders and Eagles more or less nervous? The answer is they are bummed out and way more nervous. So I don't think he's going to do it. Right. But what I am saying is that if your opposition, the Commanders and Eagles right now are like, you're right, Jerry, stand pat.
Yep.
Don't change a thing. That, to me, says changing something is probably what you should do.
That's right.
Again, I don't think it's happening.
No, but
But we know the history that we talked about it when the Jets fired Saleh. These things don't work. These in-season coaching changes rarely, if ever, work.
They are just 3-3, but there is something odd. Like, how many times are you going to let this happen? First playoff game at home against the young Packers team. Blasted right away. A Saints team that no one's paying attention to. The Saints want to prove something. They blast the Cowboys. A desperate, winless Ravens team blast the Cowboys. A Lions team that wants revenge blast the Cowboys. At what point are you going to step in like, turns out 49ers really kicked our butts here.
And they're
wow.
They're gonna.
Who would have thought?
Where, is that game in San Francisco? I don't remember.
That game is.
At this point, it does, right?
No,
doesn't
at
really
this
matter
point, I
if
think
it's
it's
in
better
Dallas.
if it's in San Francisco.
In San Fran, yeah.
I mean, that might be better. To go
Look,
from
he's
16
not going to
straight
be
at
the
home,
coach next year. We know that.
Well,
the question is, I don't even think Belichick, like if they did do what you, or want to do what you said, I don't think Belichick's taking them midway through the season.
I didn't think he would either.
Belichick's taking money from underdog. Like, he's taking money.
Turns out he likes the spotlight a little bit more than we thought.
Yeah,
does
he's
like
got
the
to check his
but
girlfriend's
if I-
travel schedule, but he's available.
I just think he's
available.
probably like, rather than go out there in the middle of a season when I might not be able to turn it around.
Man, he wants
wait
Shula.
till you have a whole off season.
Yeah, but he wants Shula. This gives him an extra, 5, 6, 7 wins.
Free ones.
I would call it.
Two-year project.
Jerry, I'd call
They
it.
won't give it and shouldn't give it to Zimmer.
No,
'Cause that defense is
been a
mess.
disaster.
Right.
You're going to give it to Schottenheimer?
No, I mean, that's
why
what
I'm
the thing.
saying.
It
Pull
will
the
have to be
Saturday.
somebody.
Jeff Saturday won his first game. Belichick comes in, beats the Niners. Oh.
Yeah, but then it was downhill.
Yeah, it was downhill.
All right, meanwhile, the Lions looked unstoppable. Jared Goff goes for 315 and 3 touchdowns. Montgomery and Gibbs added 2 touchdowns. Defense was incredible, but did lose Aiden Hutchinson for the year. Now, news from Dallas is that he had emergency surgery yesterday. After the game, the Lions locker room totally locked in.
Pretty good.
Good vibes.
good.
Wild,
Yeah.
Can I tell Wilds? How close to getting misty-eyed?
Oh, I watched it a few times.
You cried the first game.
I get fired up when Goff gives it back. I'm like, here, Goff. Were the Lions solidified as the team to beat in the NFC, Brew?
Well, I probably would say yes, but Aiden Hutchinson, the injury, you can't overstate the
Show the numbers,
value
guys.
that he has to
Keep
this
going,
team.
Brew. They can
I mean,
pop it
he's
up.
not only obviously he was playing like the best defensive player in the league.
I mean, he's done what
He
the
and
rest
Chris
of the team
Jones,
combined.
right? And 7.5 sacks, leads the league, and you see it. They don't get many without him, and so they're not going to have that pass rush. Their defense, while it's solid and good with him, it is the weak link on their team. Offensively, they can do it all. They've got the run game. They can throw the ball. They've got skill position. The offensive line is great. But I don't, in fact, I don't know which way I'll go. But right now, I'm kind of leaning. They play Minnesota this week. I'm leaning toward Minnesota. So I would not say they're clearly a contender. Absolutely. But no.
So the last game they played before the bye, the question we asked is, do they have an argument they're the best team in the NFC? The answer was yes then, that they had the argument. Now, they clearly, to me, right now have I understand the Vikings are undefeated. I think, all things considered, the Lions have not only the best argument, but they are the
Even
current.
without Hutchinson?
Yes, for the time being. The team to beat in the NFC. Here's what I will caution. I will caution 2 things. One is this. They are also a game and a half out of being in last place in their own division. That division is 16-4 against the rest of the NFL. 1-1 against itself, obviously. But the 1-1 against itself means none of the divisional games have happened. Minnesota, Green Bay's happened, and every other one. So you have all these 4-win teams. The 4 best point differentials in football is the NFC North. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a caution that one of these teams is going to miss the playoffs entirely. I don't think it's going to be Detroit, but they're going to beat each other up. The other one is this. It's this little football gods thing. I hope you have 30 more trick plays, because there were a few of those things that I personally would have maybe kept in reserve to use in a critical situation or in a game we're trailing where we need a spark. They wanted to really stick it to Dallas. I don't know how many hook and laterals to Penei Sewell you have in the bag.
I don't think they're running that. Yeah, I don't think they're running that against like a team they respect.
Okay. I mean, I
think they did it just to embarrass the Cowboys.
Okay, maybe.
I think he's got a lot.
All right.
Ben Johnson's got a whole.
I understand.
He's got a whole folder when he goes to a new team that he hasn't broken out yet.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.